You're walking past a shallow pond. You see a baby thrashing around. She's drowning. You look around, but nobody else is around. Only you can wade in and save her. But wait, you're wearing these expensive new Nikes that you've been saving for months for. You paid $200 for them. You love these shoes, and it's your first day wearing them. What do? Do you wade in and save her, even though you'd lose the Nikes? How many people say yes? All right, most people, that's good. So we realize that shoes are nothing compared to a human life. If we have to sacrifice an expensive pair of sneakers to save a baby, of course that's the right thing to do. But what if the baby were drowning in a pond in India or in Africa? Or what if she was dying because her parents couldn't afford a simple life-saving treatment for diarrhea, one that you could pay for the cost of an expensive pair of sneakers? Today I want to talk to you about the ideas of the philosopher Peter Singer, the author of the book The Life You Can Save, and the effective altruism movement. The effective altruism movement isn't simply arguing that we should give money to charity, or we should go volunteer at soup kitchens, or we should do nice things like that. In fact, some ways we spend money charitably might not be making much of a difference. Rather, effective altruism argues that if we're intelligent and targeted in our giving, we can make a much bigger difference than most of us probably ever believed was possible. 3 principles of effective altruism. The first is that suffering and death from lack of food, shelter, and healthcare are bad. And that's true regardless of what your skin color is or what country you live on. All suffering is something we should seek to avoid. Second is that if it's within our power to stop something bad from happening without sacrificing anything nearly as important, then we should do that. If we have to give up an expensive bottle of wine in order to feed a starving child for a month, there's something wrong if we don't do that. The last principle is that maybe for the first time in history, it's within our power to make a substantial difference in reducing suffering and death through targeted giving to effective international aid organizations. The reason we know this is through the work of 2 organizations in particular. One is GiveWell, the other is Giving What We Can. And these are in-depth charity evaluators that put international organizations through a rigorous, years-long series of tests to demonstrate their bottom-line impact. This right here is a list of the world's 15 most effective international organizations in reducing suffering and death, dollar for dollar. In general, what these organizations have in common is that a lot of them work in the developing world, and part of the reason for that is that a single dollar goes much further there, often 10 to 20 times further there than it does in the US. You might be able to save 10 or 20 lives for the price of saving 1 life in the US. I want to talk about 3 of the world's most effective organizations. The first is the Against Malaria Foundation, which distributes bed nets in the developing world. They don't merely show that bed nets can stop malaria. They also have to show that, for instance, what percentage of bed nets will actually make it to where they're supposed to go if you give them a donation? What percentage will be used effectively? What are the chances that somebody saved would have died anyway in a few years from some other reason? What are the chances that the government would have filled in and donated the money if you didn't? They've ended up estimating that about $2,000 on average will save a life of somebody who would otherwise have died. Second organization is the Fistula Foundation, which works with women who have suffered fistulas as a result of childbirth or sometimes rape. They often suffer social death because they stink of urine or feces constantly, and they say that experience is actually worse than literal death. It's been estimated that a donation of $1,000 to the Fistula Foundation is all that it takes to fund a fistula surgery that never would otherwise have happened. Final example is the Seva Foundation, which works on blindness and funding cataract surgeries. And the estimate there, by outside, impartial, rigorous evaluators, is that on average, the cost of a cataract surgery in the developing world is often less than $100. Comparison, cost of training a single seeing eye dog in the US is about $40,000. What I'd like to invite you to do is to Google The Life You Can Save, learn about this project, and do what I did, take the pledge. You can pledge to give 2%, 3%, 5%, or more of your annual income to organizations that work in the developing world to make the biggest possible difference in reducing human suffering and death. You're walking by a shallow pond and you see a baby drowning. Nobody else is around. You can save her. All you have to give up is an expensive pair of sneakers. Thank you.